Let's start with the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Yeah.
Is 4,000 the likely mark?
Well, you know, we're the third best in the world. The all shares up just below 30%. I think we're going to see a little bit of flatlining here, a little bit of rotation in the markets. But my objective for the NSE 20 by year end is above 4,200.
Right.
So sometimes it's difficult to read Nairobi on a random walk basis. It's headed higher.
Right.
But it just seems to me there's a little bit of rotation going on at the moment. And I think we could flatline for a little bit here.
So you think there's likely to be quite a bit of profit taking?
I don't think there's going to be anything heavy. I think we've been in a bull trend since the beginning of the year. Pullbacks have been shallow. Drawdowns have been 50, 80 points. I don't see that trend changing anytime soon. So I think it was headed higher, but it just seems to me there's a little bit of heaviness around the trading of late. But we had this huge volume last week,
right,
which I've never seen before. I think 4 days we traded more than 3.5 billion shillings. So it tells me that the bona fides of the bull market are very much intact, and that sort of sharpened volume confirms that.
Which are your stock picks? Which are the interesting stocks to look out for right now?
Well, I think, you know, we've had some tremendous runs in the banking stocks, things like KCB up 77, 78% year to date. Right now, I'm looking more at the underperformers.
Right.
Those ones are going to come and report pretty soon. Something like Kenyan looks interesting to me. A contrarian view would take on Kenya Airways as well. And then there are also things like Standard Chartered, which look very cheap on a forward PE basis. So looking to pick my spots at the moment. But, you know, the market has been dominated by foreign investors. Foreign investors have reached for the big cap stocks. That's where the performances come. I expect to see some of that now beginning to, some of these other stocks play catch up.
All right, let's stay with Kenya Airways. The government wants a bit more control right now, that because it's become the single largest shareholder. Initially, KLM had the right to pick top executives, but now the government says we need those rights back. So is that anything we should be taking any note of?
So the first thing was, I think there's an upper limit to KLM stakes, and they weren't able to go beyond that. I think they were keen to go beyond that, but were unable to do so. I think, you know, the government is just flexing their muscles and saying, look, we are now the biggest shareholder on the register. We are the elephant in the room, and we want more say in decisions that are made within the organization. I think the government's job is to get out of business. I think Kenya Airways was the start of what was an excellent thing that the government did, which was to exit a lot of these parastatals, and I think that's what they should focus on, and not focus on trying to run commercial enterprises from outside, because it doesn't work.
Because the other problem with this is once we have the government appointing senior KQ executives, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be on merit. No. If I'm the transport minister and Aly-Khan, you my friend, you always stand up on my show and say, please go and be CEO. Maybe you're not qualified.
Don't forget, Larry. I completely agree with you. I mean, you know, we know that the government does not make scientific decisions, meritocratic decisions. There are many other considerations to take into account, and I would urge them to continue with their program, which was to exit these businesses, let the CEO, Titus Naikuni, run his business like commercial business, keep out of the way. And that's when businesses do well. And I think if, as long as you create a level playing field, and Kenya Airways, I think, has a very interesting story. It's in this massive expansion plan. Shareholders were diluted, but if you look at it right now, you've got to say to yourself, this is a place to be looking to pick up some equity, I think, as long as you've got a 12-month view.
Is it? Do you think the worst of the storm is behind them? They've had the rights issue was undersubscribed. Then the employees threatened to go on strike. There's the 578 people it let go of. Is all that negative energy gone, and from now on it's smooth flying? You
know, that's an interesting way to look at it. And I tend to find you want to know whether all the bad news is in the price. Are all the curveballs? Have we seen all the curveballs? And I think we have. And that's why I think you're seeing it sort of not react. It's bottoming out here, and it's sending me the message that this is the time to be picking it up. There's not that much supply at these price points, right? It won't take much to rally it up to 15 or 16, and you get quite a handsome return. So yes, I think all the bad news is in the price, very little of the good.
Let's talk about the shilling as well. Yesterday we hit our lowest since June, but is it just a temporary cloud and we're still doing well?
You know, the shilling has a high inverse correlation with the price of fuel.
Yes.
And the price of fuel ticked above $100, the WTI, on Friday, and it's been quite elevated. And I think that's what softened up the shilling. But I think our interest rates are high and handsome in a world where everyone else is paying you 0%. We've still got some good interest rates. I think that's sufficient to attract money into the shilling and keep it supported. Maybe we go up to 85, 85.50, but nothing like we saw last year when it fell out of bed.
All right, so overall, we can't go to 107 at least.
No way, and I don't think we're going to go even to 90. I think we can go to 85, 50, 86.
Yes.
It's been well behaved, it's been low beta, and I think part of that reason is there are very few homes for all this liquidity that's been pumped into the system. You can't go to Brazil, you can't go to Switzerland.
Yes.
So it leaves me thinking that some of that slips into Africa, and that keeps the shilling supported for now.
Read this for me also. Our by-elections yesterday,
Yes.
they were largely peaceful. We got the new people coming in, big wins for the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. But does that mean we're prepared for the elections? Did you get that sense?
So I was fortunate enough to come across the IEBC fellow yesterday,
Yes.
and he was saying that we're definitely going for March. So that's the one thing. We need to now set a date, stick to it, and stop moving the goalposts all the time.
Yes.
I thought they went relatively well. You know, did I learn anything? No, because I mean, I expected those results. You know, had there been an upset, that would have been something. But here, we saw that these key candidates were able to consolidate their base. We didn't learn anything new. I think the political risk side remains, it blinks amber. Look at Tana River, look at what happened in Mombasa.
Yes.
And you know, look what's happened in our past score sheet, you know, 207, 92, 97. And that's a thing that everyone's looking out for. But for now, I remain optimistic that actually we will surpass what is quite a low bar and hopefully pull that off in March 2013.